I'm sorry. Sabbath, will you bow your heads in prayer with me? Dear Father, you are my God. I will exalt you. I will praise your name, for you have done wonderful things. Your counsels of old are faithfulness and truth. What a wonderful name it is. Dear God, in the poetry of the prophets, you promise to keep in perfect peace the minds who are stayed in you. I'm sorry that I've come here with my own agenda, and I ask that you empty my mind and fill it with your spirit and with your love. Nothing else will do. We love you. Bless our worship today. Amen.
Good morning, church. Happy Sabbath. I'm glad to see you this morning. It's good to see your beautiful faces. It's good to be worshiping in the house of the Lord today. This morning we're going to continue on our series on relationships, and the title of the series is "It's Complicated," restoring relationships. And so, just before we move forward, let's have a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, this is now your turn. Take the words that will leave my mouth and break it into the heart of your children this morning. I pray that your children, will leave knowing something, learning something about you, or be reminded of something, Father. Thank you for the things that you have done in my life, and I've done my part in preparing the sermon, and now, Lord, it's your time to shine and to show up and to do your thing. I leave everything in your hands, Lord. It's your turn. In your name I pray. Amen. Story goes of a soldier during the First World War who asked his officer if he could go back to the no man's land, to the battlefield, to bring back one of his friends that was grievously wounded. And so the officer looked at him and said, "You can go, but I mean, it's not worth it. Your friend is probably killed already, and you would put your life in danger." But the soldier still went, and somehow he managed to get his friend, put his friend on his shoulders, and he went back to the trenches with him. And so the two of them tumbled together and laid at the bottom of the trench, and the officer looked at both of them and said, "Look, I told you, it wasn't worth it. He's dead, and now you're mortally wounded." Soldier replied, "It was worth it." The officer said, "Well, can't you see? What do you mean it was worth it? Your friend is dead, and now you're mortally wounded." Soldier said again, "It was worth it, because when I got there, he was still alive." And he said, "Jim, I knew you would come. I knew you would come." Let me ask you a question this morning. Would you ever risk your life for your friend? Or I should ask, would your friends ever risk their lives for you? Look, I'm just wondering if you've got friends like this soldier, friends who would leave their comfort zone and place and place themselves in dangerous situations just for your sake. See, we're sometimes quick to call people friends, but not everyone can be our friend. And some of you here today probably found out the hard way that in this life you just can't trust everyone. You just can't trust everyone. And the older you get, the wiser you get, the more you understand that God is calling you somewhere, but not everybody can go with you. Not everyone is meant to be part of your inner circle. Not everyone is qualified to be your friend. And so this morning I am going to talk to you about a word that was recently added to the dictionary. A word that is quite interesting, and the young people know about it. This morning I'll talk to you about frenemies. Frenemies. Do you have frenemies in your life? Well, I'll break it down for you. Frenemies, it's really, to boil it down, it's someone who is your friend and also your enemy. A frenemy, they'll cherish, they'll cheer for you on Monday at your work and spread rumors about you on Tuesday. Frenemies, they always want to give you advice that they will never follow. They always try to find a way to shut down your dreams, your ideas, and your goals, because for them, it's all about competition. It's all about competition. Deep down, they don't really care. Deep down, they don't really wish the best for you. Frenemies, they are the people that you don't know enough about them to doubt them, but you know enough about them to not trust them. Frenemies. Do you have frenemies in your life? There are many stories of frenemies in the Bible. For example, Cain and Abel, Joseph and his brothers, David and Saul, Judas and Jesus. There are many examples in the Bible. And even Apostle Paul, he encountered some frenemies in the last chapter of the book of Acts. And this morning I want to invite you to journey with me in the last chapter of the book of Acts, Acts chapter 28, verse 1 to 6. Acts chapter 28, verse 1 to 6. The Bible says, now when they had escaped, they then found out the island was called Malta. And the natives showed us unusual kindness. This is Luke writing. And he says, the natives of the land showed us unusual kindness, for they kindled the fire and made us all welcome because of the rain that was falling and because of the cold. But when Paul had gathered a bundle of sticks and laid them on the fire, a viper, a snake, came out because of the heat and fastened on his hand. Verse 4, so when the natives saw the creature hanging from his hand, they said to one another, no doubt this man is a murderer, whom though he has escaped the sea, yet justice does not allow to live. But Paul shook off the creature into the fire and suffered no harm. However, the natives were expecting that Paul would swell up or suddenly fall down dead. But after they had looked for a long time and saw no harm come to him, they changed their minds and said that he was a god. The natives of the land, they were idolatrous, so since they saw that Paul was still alive and doing well, they thought that he was a special person. They thought that he was God. He was a god. You know, in this life, it's easier to find frenemies than to find true friends. It's easier to find frenemies than to find true friends. Let me just give you the context here. Paul was being taken to Rome because he was arrested and he was to be tried as a political rebel. But the ship that he was on with all the 275 people faced a severe tempest. It was caught in a violent storm. They were in the storm for 14 days. and only to be wrecked 2 weeks later on the coast of the island called Malta. And now, chapter 28, they're on the island, and when they arrive there, the natives of the land showed them, the Bible says, unusual kindness. Unusual kindness. They saw the new faces, and so they put up their best faces, their best smiles, and to welcome them. They were nice, they were kind, they were sweet, they were gentle. Bible says unusual kindness. They were unusually kind. So much so that they kindled a fire to warm those who had come abroad. And while Paul was gathering wood for the fire, a snake jumped out of the wood and fastened itself on his hand. And now the snake was stuck on Paul's hand. And now the people who showed unusual kindness were all there. They didn't do anything. They just stood there and watched, just like it was a YouTube video. They just watched. I don't know for you, but for me, when I am going through hard times, when I am bitten, when things are hard, I don't need bystanders. I don't need spectators. I need friends, true friends. And so Paul realized that once he's bitten, he realized that the people who were unusually kind can also be unusually cruel. The people who were unusually kind can also be unusually cruel. You know people like that. You thought that they had your back, but you thought wrong. Because when you needed them the most, they were nowhere to be found. A preacher once said that sometimes you've got to be beaten to know who's on your side. Sometimes you've got to go through hard times to know who your real friends are. Let me tell you this morning, for my first point, be careful of people pretending to be your friend. Be careful of people pretending to be your friend. But it gets complicated in verse 4. When you read verse 4 with me, verse 4 says, "So when the natives saw the creature hanging from his hand, they said to one another, 'No doubt this man is a murderer. Though he has escaped the sea, yet justice does not allow to live.'" They said, "We're pretty sure this guy is a criminal. We're pretty sure he's a murderer." And this week I was reading a commentary about this specific verse, and the author was saying that the natives reasoned incorrectly, as many do, because they suppose that every calamity is a judgment for some particular sin. So people often draw to this conclusion and suppose that suffering is to be traced with some particular crime and to be regarded as a direct judgment from heaven. So it's this idea that is called a divine retribution. God blessing the good people and God curses the bad people. Do you remember situations in the Bible where people thought that suffering was linked to particular sins? I can think of the story of Job. You know the story of Job. Job had lost everything. Job lost his children, his livestock, his servants, and he's covered in painful sores. And now Job got friends, and they all showed up. They cried with him. They mourned with him. Everything was good, was fine, was well, until they started talking. The moment that they started talking, everything got complicated. They said, "Job, look, you probably deserved it." Second one said, "Don't take it personally, bro, but you're definitely a sinner." Third one said, Job, you need to get your life together and repent as soon as possible. Friends, it's a bad day, it's a bad day, it's a sad day when the people whom you thought were your friends start judging you based on your condition. It's a sad day when the people whom you thought were your friends start judging your character based on your situation. Now imagine with me just for a few seconds that, let's say you just lost your job, and you call one of your friends, and and as you're telling the story, as you're telling the situation to one of your friends, and he or she tells you, you got laid off, it must be because you're lazy. I'm pretty sure some of you would be really triggered, really angry, because just because I'm laid off does not mean I am lazy. Just because I'm going through hard times and challenging situations does not mean that God is punishing me. Be careful of people who judge your character based on your condition. Be careful of those people. Look, you can show up to my house when I am hurting. I understand that you may not have the words to comfort me. I understand that you may not know what to tell me. But if you're coming to my house when I'm hurting to do a critical evaluation of my situation, you might as well stay home. So I won't need your critical evaluation. When I'm hurting, your critical evaluation of my situation won't help me. Because when I'm hurting, I need my friends to remind me once in a while that I am loved by God. I need my friends to remind me that God cares for me. I need people who will strengthen me in the Lord, not people who will analyze me and try to look at my life, my history, to tell me I'm going through this because of that. I need people who will support me, who will push me forward, who will hold my hand and say, let's move forward. Be careful of people who judge your character based on your situation. You've got to be careful of those people. But it gets worse. So first of all, Paul landed on that island, and he met people who were pretending to be his friends. Now the people were judging his character based on his condition. And now the third point, they were expecting nothing but failure for him. If you look at verse 6, verse 6 says, they were expecting that he would swell up or suddenly fall down dead. But after they had looked for a long time and saw no harm come to him, they changed their minds and said that he was a god. Let me just give you the third point right away. Be careful of people expecting the worst for you. Be careful of people expecting you to always fail. You know, they're frenemies. Deep down, it's really all about competition. They can't celebrate with you when you're having a new job offer. They can't really clap for you when your dream takes off before theirs. Because for them, it's all a competition. They're not really concerned about being the best. They just want to be better than you. Because it's all about a competition. And that's why they like to shut down your dreams. Now, when I'm going through hard times, when I'm going through something, don't expect the worst for me. I know you can't handle my problems. I know you won't be able to get me out of my situation. I know you won't be able to fix what I got involved in. I know you won't be able to heal me or to transfer me that money that I need. But at least as a friend, pray for me. At least as a friend, keep me in your prayers. Pray for my safety. Pray for my well-being. Pray for my protection. Pray for my healing and peace. It's always good to have friends praying for you. Always a blessing when you have friends waking up early in the morning and bringing you to the throne of grace. I'm just wondering this morning, do you pray for your friends? Do you pray for your friends? Do you wish the best for them? Would it bother you if they were doing better than you in life? This morning, here's the call to action. Here's the call to action. Examine your relationship and make sure that you're not a frenemy. Examine your relationship. Examine the relationship that you have with the person you texted yesterday, with the people you hang out last week with the people that you spoke on the phone. Examine those relationships and see if you are a frenemy. Now let me show you really what a true friendship is. I've done this comparison between two stories, because a good illustration of true friendship is the story of David and Jonathan. And so what I did, I kind of compared the story of Acts 28 with Paul and the story of David and Jonathan. And so you know the story of David and Jonathan. Saul was a king. Saul was Jonathan's dad. And Saul just hated David and wanted to kill him. He just thought David had to die. But Jonathan, he stayed loyal to his friend David. And so the comparison is the next slide. And so the first point is that Jonathan stayed loyal to his friend. Even though his dad threatened to kill him, he was still loyal to David. The second point is that he never judged David nor condemned him, but he entered in his problems. He entered in his experience. He left his palace to go in the wilderness, to go in the fields, to go in the woods, in darkness, to be with his friend David. He went through the darkness, to the woods, to the field, to help him, to encourage him, to strengthen him in the Lord. The last one I found is that, last but not least, Jonathan wished nothing but the best for David. It didn't matter to him that David would be king over Israel one day and take the place of his father. He says in 1 Samuel 23, verse 17, "Do not fear, for the hand of Saul my father shall not find you." And he says, "You, David, you shall be king over Israel, and I shall be next to you. Even my father Saul knows that." So that's what he's telling David. He's telling David, Dave, keep your spirit up. Keep it up and keep going. Wipe your eyes. I know you're in the wilderness right now, but you won't always stay in the wilderness. As a matter of fact, you will be king over Israel. As a matter of fact, you will be in the palace. I don't know for you, but I need some friends sometimes who will encourage me when things are tough, when things are hard. I need friends who will remind me that I am a child of God, that I am no longer a slave of fear. I need some friends who will remind me that I am an ambassador of the heavenly kingdom. I need some friends who will remind me that I am loved by God, that God died for me, and that He has a precious plan for me. I don't need people who will criticize me and do this critical evaluation of my life. No, I need people to strengthen me in the Lord, to help me move forward when things are tough. True friends will bring you closer to Christ. True friends that will uplift you in their prayers. They're not there to condemn you, but they're there to console you when things are hard. A true friend won't backstab you, but will stand for you. As a matter of fact, if a true friend wants to stab you, he or she will stab you in front of you. Your friend will tell you the truth, how you need to hear it, really raw. A true friend will not spread rumors, and a true friend will get into your experience to be with you. One thing that I like about the story of David and Jonathan is the fact that David left his palace to go be with David in the wilderness, to go be with David in the fields, to go be with David in the woods. If you don't know yet where I'm going with the story, that story just reminds me of a friend that I have whom 2,000 years ago came down and entered into the human experience just to save you and me. This story reminds me of this guy that people called him friend of sinners. As a matter of fact, the song says, "There is no friend like the lowly Jesus. He knows all your struggles. There is not an hour that is not near us. No, not one. No, not one." His friend is Jesus. And this morning, if your friends have disappointed you or betrayed you, if you realize that you have more frenemies and enemies than friends, Well, I cannot but to invite you to become friend with my friend Jesus. I cannot but invite you to strengthen your relationship with Jesus, because he knows every dirty little secrets about your life, but he's still willing to use you. He still loves you no matter what, and he wants to be your friend. Jesus uplifts my soul when I am down. He's always there for me. He does not condemn me, but he's always there to encourage me and to push me forward. On top of that, he wants the best for me. I don't know if you've got a friend like Jesus, but there is no other friend like Jesus. He wants the best for me. When he thinks about me, I picture him smiling, even though I have many faults, and he loves me. He loves you today. And I want you today to give him the priority. And I want you to make him your best friend. I want him to have the priority in your life, because when he's your friend, you're going to start seeing people like he does see people. You're going to start loving your enemies and your frenemies. And he will give you the strength that you need to fix and restore relationships with your frenemies. He'll give you the strength that you need to call people that you have problems with and to restore relationships. Jesus, make him your friend today. You won't miss out. May God bless you all, and enjoy the rest of your Sabbath. May God bless you.
Good morning, church. Happy Sabbath. Thank you for joining us today. It is now our opportunity to worship and giving. Today's offering is for our very own OAC Church budget. These funds go to support the many ministries that we have right here within our church family. So the way that you can give your tithes and offerings are you can text OAC Vancouver app to the number 77977. And you can also use the church app as well. And you can use the envelopes right in the shelves in front of you, in the pews. And all loose offerings will go to support our church. So I'd like to invite the ushers forward as we say a word of prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Please be with us, and please help us to take the message that we heard today and apply it to our lives and do the best that we can to follow in your way. In your name I pray, amen.
stand as we sing our closing song. You give a love, you are love, you bring all the earth. And all the earth will shout your praise. Our hearts will cry, these bones will sing. Great are you, Lord. Come on. And all the earth will shout your praise. Our hearts will cry, these bones will sing. Great are you, Lord. All the earth will shout your praise. Our hearts will cry, these bones will sing. Great are you, Lord. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise. We pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise to you. Oh, it's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise. We pour out our praise. It's your breath, God, in our lungs, so we pour out our praise to you. Oh, great are you,
Please take a seat. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Oak Ridge Adventist Church. My name is Rose Niraneza, and I serve as part of the collegiate ministries as well as worship ministries here at church. Today, we're going to welcome our online worshipers. We actually have a bunch. I'm just waiting to see if there's anyone else that's been added. If not, welcome to all the online worshipers that are here with us. I do not have the list with you today, but we just want to say thank you. If you do want to say hi to them, we do have a camera that'll be nearby, I think. So if you just want to say hi, you can just wave. So we have a lot of announcements. If it is your first time to OAC, we'd like to get to know you in the 7 minutes or less. Meet our greeters in the foyer. They have a gift for you, and it won't take more than 7 minutes of your time. Do any of you guys enjoy music? Well, plan to join us this coming Monday for the African Children's Choir performance that will take place here at OAC. This presentation is part of the Canadian tour, and your presence and donations will support them to continue with this ministry. So do come this Monday at 7 p.m. And I think it will be right here, if I'm not wrong. And next week, we'll be celebrating the high school and postgraduates this past year. Please, if you haven't done so yet, send us your names, photos, and course details to the following address, which is info@oakridgeadventist.ca, and we don't want to miss you. Also, coming next Sabbath, we will conduct an emergency drill at the end of our worship service. Your participation in following the instructions and gathering at the designated site of refuge is essential to help us all be better prepared for life-threatening circumstances. Do you want to maximize your intellectual and emotional intelligence based on biblical principles? Well, that's the core topic of the health seminar that will roll out every Sabbath starting May 5th and will end June 15th. Plan to join us from 9:50 to 11 a.m. in the lower hall and prepare your brain to improve its capacity to retain and apply knowledge. If you are eager to collaborate in making your church grow, we will always have a place reserved for your gifts. You might also be interested in learning about a particular position or area. So contact us at info@oakridgeadventist.ca or through our OAC app and website. I just got the list of all of our online worshipers, so I'm just gonna, shout you guys out. So we have some international worshipers coming from Tokyo, Japan, Vienna, Austria, Stresso, Saxony, Germany. I apologize if I mispronounced that. Mexico City, Mexico. And then our worshipers from Canada and the US. There's Ontario, California, Toronto, and Petawawa, Ontario, Edmonton, Alberta, and then our worshipers from BC include places in Pemberton, Courtenay, Victoria, Delta, Surrey, Vancouver, and Lower Mainland. Welcome, online worshipers. Last but not least, you might have seen those beautiful pictures from our Mother's Day breakfast on the bulletin board at the foyer. Please pick up yours and take them with you back home. It's a OAC present to you. If you want to get the digital version of them, you can visit the OAC Flickr account by scanning the QR code placed on the bulletin board. And now I'd like to invite Edwin to just end us with prayer.
All right, let's pray. Lord, sometimes we struggle to be true friends. And Lord, help us to continue to look at you so that we could portray your love to our friends and love them better and see them like you see them. Father, help us to love our frenemies and our enemies, and sometimes relationships can be just complicated. But Lord, I pray that you would remain the center of them all. In your holy name I pray. Amen. When I was younger, turning off the basement lights to go upstairs was always a struggle. The moment that I would be in darkness and not able to see anything, I'll start picturing all kinds of images and monsters. So I'll turn off the lights and run up the stairs as fast as possible, hoping that no monster would grab my feet. See, there is something mysterious about the human eye, because when the eye can't see what's around it, the mind will start conjuring all kinds of ideas. In other words, your eyes can cause you to be anxious, to be afraid, or to lose hope in the power of God, especially when you're going through dark times. For example, when the disciples were in the storm with Jesus, they saw the water getting in the boat and they thought they were going to die. When Elisha's servant saw that an army with horses and chariot had surrounded the city, he started panicking, and he said to Elisha, "What are we going to do?" Then Elisha said, "Don't worry, those who are with us are more than those who are with them." Then Elisha prayed and said, "Lord, open his eyes that he may see." Then the servant saw a mountain full of horses and chariots of fire. See, the servant was afraid because he was relying on his human eyes instead of the eyes of faith. Now let me give you an illustration. Let's say you're looking outside your windows at 9 p.m. You're going to say it's dark. You're looking again at 1 a.m. It's still dark. You're looking again at 3 a.m. It's still going to be dark. But see, there is a big change from 9 p.m. to 3 a.m. But your eyes didn't notice it. Your eyes only saw the darkness. They made you think that things are still the same, that there is nothing improving. However, by 1 a.m., it's already a new day. A wise man once said that the darkest hour of the night comes right before the dawn. By 3 a.m., things are getting better and brighter, but your eyes can't notice that. See, your eyes can easily deceive you. That's why the Bible says in 2 Corinthians 5, verse 7, "For we walk by faith and not by sight." Because sight is going to make you think that God is far away, that He's not active in your life, that He doesn't care or He can't handle your situation. But the truth is, He's working to improve your situation. He's taking your mess, transforming it into a message. He's shaping and molding you for the better. So don't let your eyes deceive you. God is at work in your life. He says in Isaiah, "When you pass through the waters, I'll be with you, and through the rivers they shall not overflow you. When you walk through the fire, you shall not be burned, nor shall the flames scorch you. For I am the Lord your God." So friends, we must always walk not by what we see, but by what we know about God. So no matter how dark your night gets, know that God is working on your dawn.